Hello and welcome to 10 for 10, 10 sports topics with the News 10 sports team. I'm sports director Griffin Haas, joined by Brian Rudman once again. Episode 2 here of 10
Here we
for
go.
10. And again, you can follow along with our trusty rundown on the side of the screen there. And we begin again with the World Series because last time we were in here, Jeff Hoffman had just sent the Blue Jays to the World Series with two incredible performances in Game 6 and Game 7. And when they were going into it, it looked like the Dodgers, again, still the heavy favorite. A lot of people picking the Dodgers. Not a lot of people picking the Blue Jays to pull the upset. And here we are now, a week later, and the Blue Jays have a 3-2 series lead. An unexpected but welcomed plot twist.
Yeah, absolutely. I think part of this is people kind of just... The Blue Jays keep defying expectations, right? Even when they won the division, they had to face the Yankees. It was kind of up in the air whether they were better than the Yankees, and they took care of them. Fall behind the Mariners, found a way to come back. And I think the most impressive comeback they've had is bouncing back from that 18-inning loss in Game 3, finding a way to look really, really good in Games 4 and 5 and set themselves up for success.
And we're talking baseball here, so here's a little inside baseball. We are a Fox station as well as ABC.
Yep.
So we go on after the World Series.
Yeah.
And Game 1 or Game 2 was it? Yeah, no, 3. Game 3.
Game 3 was the 18
Game 3. I don't even remember. That's how long it took. It was 18 innings. We were here. That was a 3 a.m. Morning, not even a 3 a.m. night for the News 10 nightside team.
Yeah, I had the day off. I was like,
you weren't here.
I wasn't here. I was sitting at home watching the game, thinking, "Oh, I feel so bad for everyone."
But you know
who's
what?
Still there.
And it would have been a lot better if the Blue Jays had pulled it out. But
Right.
Jeff Hoffman still went 2 innings in that one, 2 scoreless innings, kept them in that game. They lose. It looks like the tide is about to turn. I thought, to be honest, that they'd be dead after that. I thought that, how do you respond from a game like that where, you are the underdog and that can take a lot out of you, a game like that.
Right.
And now you're down in the series and you're in LA and it doesn't look great. They turn around in Game 4, and they didn't even need Jeff Hoffman in that game.
Right.
He warmed up in the 9th inning, but they jumped all over the Dodgers. Not to mention former Valley Cat George Springer, who's kind of been, he's been
huge for
best
them.
hitter of the team behind Vlad.
Yeah.
Is not even playing now because he's injured, and they still come back and just find a way to get it done.
Yeah, well, I think that home run from Vladdy in the 3rd inning of Game 4, excuse me. That was huge because it settles everything, right? I think you look back to the last time there was an 18-inning World Series game back in 2018, the Dodgers came out and played really good first 6 innings in Game 4, and the Red Sox kind of had to fight back. The Blue Jays got it going a little earlier, and being down 2-1, that was so important. And you need your stars in those big moments to come up, and that's exactly what Vladdy did and kind of just settled everything down because to battle for 18 innings and then lose and then have to show up the next day knowing that, we just fought for 18 innings, that's just, it can be a gut punch. I'm sure it was a gut punch, but that home run kind of seemed to me like it settled everything down and kind of just gave the Blue Jays their confidence back.
Not to mention that, and we didn't mention yet, but they also had Ohtani on the mound. So,
right,
and you could see like the post-game clip of him where he's getting all excited and he's getting into his pitching rotation or pitching motion right after the 18th inning marathon. Like he was ready to go. The Dodgers are excited. They're sending out their ace. So for Vladdy to hit that home run and like you said, calm things down and be like, hey, this isn't over.
Especially because they were already down 1-0 in the game at that point.
Yeah.
It really was important for them to strike back in a big way early to kind of get things settled down.
And then we're recording this on Thursday right now. So what was yesterday, Wednesday, to go Game 5.
Yeah.
And they just jumped all over him. I mean, they have Davis Schneider hitting leadoff, who, if you told me that Davis Schneider was going to be hitting leadoff of the World Series against the Dodgers, I would think that team's in trouble.
Right.
And the first pitch he sees off Blake Snell, home run.
Yeah.
And then 2 pitches later, Vlad does it again, another home run. And all of a sudden, it's 2-0 in the blink of an eye. And that game was just never in doubt, especially because Trey is savage.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a savage.
Yeah.
12 strikeouts, 7 innings, only the 1 run allowed.
Yeah.
People didn't even know who this guy was a couple months ago, and he put in quite a performance.
Yeah, I mean, Trey Savage has been brilliant, but going back to to Schneider and Vlad in the first inning. You talk about getting settled into a World Series game. They didn't even let Blake Snell breathe. They didn't get an out before they were on the board. And to go back to back, it kind of just reinforces that idea that when Toronto is on, they are just all over you from the jump and just not letting anything go.
And then, of course, to touch back on Jeff Hoffman, the Shaker grad, he goes, closes it out yesterday, puts a man on. But, I mean, other than that, it was pretty light work for him, tallying the 2 strikeouts, striking out Freeman and Teoscar. And now all of a sudden, not only are they up 3-2, but they're up 3-2 going back to Toronto. Right. So this will be airing on Friday. So that means game 6 is tonight if you're watching this.
Exactly.
And they have a chance to, it's just cool to think that a Shaker grad, a guy who's worked so hard to get to where he is, battled adversity could be tonight on the mound closing out a World Series win. It's kind of surreal.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how special of a moment it was last week with the ALCS and how it was kind of full circle. I mean, it's just going to multiply that by 100 when it comes into the thought of, Jeff Hoffman. If the Blue Jays are going to win this series, one way or another, you would think that the 9th inning is going to be Hoffman's both days. Yeah. One way or another. Losing, unless they're down 5 or 6 runs in game 6, the 9th inning is going to be Hoffman's, you would think.
Yeah.
If the Blue Jays win, there's a good chance that Hoffman's going to be the one throwing the final out. And for a Shaker grad, that's really special.
Now, I will say, and I know that they would say this as well, a lot of series left.
A lot of baseball left.
The Dodgers are a very good team, and they could easily go to Toronto and win both these games. Then all of a sudden, it's what could have been. So you got to execute. But we will certainly, we don't like to be biased too much, but we have no dog in this fight outside of Jeff Hoffman. So go Blue Jays.
Yeah, let's go Toronto.
We are going to take a quick break, but when we come back, you can actually be excited and talk about the Jets. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to 10 for 10, and I'm going to move my little rundown here to the Jets. And this week, Brian, you really can be excited to talk about the Jets. It was a bit... Listen, we said a lot of things about the Jets, and a lot of things that were rightfully so, as far as criticisms of them, their ownership, and things that they were saying, their coaching.
And things that could probably still be true.
Being 0-7. Yeah, things that maybe didn't change all that much, but... Credit where credit is due. Aaron Glenn gets his first win, 39-38 over the Bengals.
Yeah, I mean, credit to Aaron Glenn and credit to Justin Fields, because after a circus of a week for him in particular, he came out and, listen, he didn't light the world on fire, but this is the offense that I think the coaching staff envisioned when they brought in Justin Fields and when, this coaching staff came in. This is kind of the style they wanted to play, where Fields is kind of just operating the offense. He's completing his passes, and it opens up the running game, because I think for the first time really this season, probably maybe since the Steelers game, maybe all season, the offensive line looked really dominant. They were creating space for Breece Hall and Isaiah Davis to work, and that just opened up everything. They were creative. They were creative with the way they got the ball into Breece Hall's hands. The game-winning touchdown was on a running back pass to Mason Taylor.
That was unbelievable.
Which I was watching it, I was in shock.
Oh, and it's also a play where it's like, dude, throw the ball away.
Right,
it looked like everything's covered. Like those plays are usually on a halfback pass are either wide open or they're either interceptions or you throw the ball away.
Yeah.
Nothing usually good happens when you hold on, then throw it to the back of the end zone. It worked out.
Right, yeah, and I think, whether it's kind of just throw it up and see what happens, or whether Breece Hall realized that the corner's got his back to me and my guy can out-jump him, one way or another, it worked. And, credit to Glenn for being aggressive with the 2-point conversion. It's one that, makes you nervous when you're down 14, you score a touchdown, and you go for 2.
I'm also still not even sure that he was across the goal line.
It was close.
It was really close.
It was close.
And they ruled it not across the goal line, and then they overturned it.
It very easily could have been a call stand.
Yeah, that's more what I'm thinking. I think it was across, but I did not know if they were going to overturn it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you mentioned it before, and obviously throwing it was one thing. But what a crazy idea to get the ball to Breece Hall. Like
Yeah.
that, what an insane idea.
What a
that
thought
is,
to get
give
our star
Breece
running
Hall,
back involved.
Who ends up with, I think it was 18 carries, 133 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground.
And then he threw for one.
And then he threw for one, and he had 2 catches. But that, I think, was one of the big differences. Also, and credit goes to the Jets.
Yeah.
The Bengals defense is horrible.
Right.
And they didn't have Hendrickson. He was out.
He got hurt midway through the game.
Yeah, so they were without him for a lot of it. But the Jets have troubled scoring points against anybody.
The offense did what they're supposed to do against the bad defense.
The defense
wasn't great, but
made plays when they needed to.
Right, yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Listen, the defense wasn't great, but when they needed to in the fourth quarter, they needed to get a stop to get the ball back. They did it. They were up by 1, and it's a movie that Jets fans have seen. We saw it in the Steelers game this year. We saw it a lot last year where they're up by a score late and then give up the game on the final drive. Defense found a way to get it done when they needed to.
Yeah, and that is, again, a lot of credit to the Jets. It's 31-16 going into the fourth quarter, and to me, it was really never close until the fourth quarter. Like, it was a 7-point game in the second quarter, but like they kind of pulled away in the third. It felt like, all right, the Bengals are just kind of gonna coast away to this one. The Jets might make it close, but they're not going to be able to pull it out. Yeah. To be down 15, to be able to erase that. They score the touchdown in the beginning of the fourth quarter and then give up another one. So it's not like it was a clean
and it was
comeback.
At that point, I was sitting there like,
okay,
all right, it's over. Like they made it a 1-score game. Now it's back to 2. And I was kind of just content with like, all right, at least it was a fun one. Like it was a fun watch today.
And again, talking about the defense coming up with a stop when they needed to, there was when it's 39-38 and there's a minute 54, I think most Jets fans or anybody watching that were like, well, here comes a field goal. And, and it's going to be a McPherson field goal to win it, and this game's going to be another moral victory, so to speak, rather than an actual victory. But again, 502 total yards for the offense. If you said
I don't care what NFL defense is out there.
I haven't looked up all the numbers. I don't that might be more than they've gained in multiple games combined this year.
Probably.
So the offense did what it needed to do and came out with a big win.
Yeah.
And now they turn their attention to the Browns. So
got a bye week first. So a good week to be on the bye
week and then the Browns. So they're focusing on the Browns, just not right now.
Yeah.
Good week to go into the bye feeling good.
Yeah.
As a fan, I have to ask.
Yeah.
You never want to win 0 games.
Yeah.
So you want to win 1. So it's got to feel good to get 1 on the board. Are we now in... I don't know if you can root for your team to lose, but are we in full-blown tank mode where you want them to lose most, if not all, games?
I think it depends on how the next couple of weeks go, because I think it depends on how this team looks.
Maybe win 10 in a row.
Yeah, why not?
Or 9 in a row. Yeah,
it's just one of those things like I will never sit down on a Sunday and watch a football game and root for the Jets to lose. It's just not going to be a thing.
Were you rooting for them to lose when Trevor Lawrence was the first round pick?
No.
Really?
No.
Oh. It's hard to root against.
It's hard.
Them.
I can't watch. There were a couple games where I just didn't watch.
But like tonight, it'll be Friday when this airs, but on Thursday, my Dolphins are playing tonight against the Ravens.
Yeah.
And if they lose, I won't be mad.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where like after the games, I understand the implications.
You're not living and dying as much.
I'm not living and dying as much as I was in week 1 when you kind of think that maybe a miracle could happen and the team could fight. But, I think I will never sit and watch and root for the Jets to lose. I understand it is beneficial for them to lose games in terms of their draft
Dolphins
standing.
Jets could be in a race to the bottom.
Yeah. So,
although I don't know, I'm afraid the Dolphins are going to go on a mini run that's going to both inspire hope and also they're going to lose the Ravens, but then they'll win like 3 or 4 in a row. That mean nothing, and then. We're not talking about the Dolphins right now.
Yeah. So, so to answer your question, I understand. I'm not going to be disappointed when they lose. I understand it's beneficial for them in terms of their draft status, but there are a couple winnable games left on the schedule. The Browns being one of them, the Dolphins being another one. If they stumble into a couple more wins, it's going to be one of those things. I'll enjoy it when it happens, you kind of just think about the draft when you get to the draft. I think one way or another, the Jets are, unless Fields,
they'll be top 3.
Yeah, unless Fields somehow becomes this.
Right, so they'll be top.
They'll be a top 3 draft.
So they'll be top 3. All right, let's move on to the Giants. The Giants playing the 49ers this weekend. They just lost the Eagles. That's why I almost said they're playing the Eagles. They're not playing the Eagles. No. They just lost the Eagles. They lose 38-20 to the Philadelphia Eagles. To me, I think I said it last week. This was a spot where I kind of expected the Giants to get smushed a little bit just because I think that the Eagles were very motivated. Saquon Barkley was very motivated. 14 carries, 150 yards and a touchdown against his old team after the Giants beat them the first time around. Yeah. They still haven't won in Philly since 2013. They were competitive for parts of the game. It wasn't a complete blowout, but they're never really in it.
Yeah, I think we kind of touched on it last week. It was kind of a get-right game for Philly and a get-back game for the Eagles, and one where you kind of expected to see Saquon do what Saquon did.
And I think the biggest takeaway, which stinks for the Giants, is Scatterbo.
Yeah.
Terrible ankle injury. He's going to miss the rest of the season. That was a tough one to watch. Yeah. That was brutal. But it felt like they had something really fun cooking. Yeah. With Scatterbo and Dart, and for him to be out for the season. And now you look at it, and you're the Giants, and you're not probably making trades for a playoff push, but do you start making trades to get some weapons for Dart, because you already don't have Neighbors, and now you don't have Scatterbo. I know Scatterbo is a running back, but they involved him in the passing game as well, and also just to have somebody to get the ball to. Yeah. And they don't really have that right now. It'll be Tyrone Tracy will have to step up a little bit, and he's a good player, but 2-6, you're not really looking at the playoffs at this point. Right. But you're also looking at the maturation of Jackson Dart and what do we need to get? Yeah. Even in just the interim to help him grow, because he still had a pretty good game. Right. I mean, he was 14-24, 193 yards and a touchdown. So again, those flashes were there, which is what you want to see if you're a Giants fan for the rest of the year. Him play well. But it's going to be hard to continue to play well with the receivers that they have.
Yeah, I think it's tough because there's not really that go-to guy anymore for Dart. Like, when in the one game he played with Neighbors, it was obviously Neighbors. But these last couple weeks, it's been Scatterbo, right? Like, you either get him the ball in the run game to kind of take some pressure off Dart in the passing game. He was kind of a safety blanket for Dart, who could then Scatterbo could go make a play. It's tough, and I think you will see the Giants explore some options to kind of bring someone in, because the one you've seen such positive strides with Jackson Dart this year. The one thing you don't want to do is see that stop, because there's just no one for him to get the ball to.
And when you look at their weapons right now, it's Wan'Dale Robinson, who's a good slot receiver, but he's not number one. I mean, you have Singletary out of the backfield. I'm just looking at the guys who caught passes this week: Darius Slayton, Daniel Bellinger, and Theo Johnson at tight end. So there's just not a lot there. And I don't think it needs to be, because I had friends of, Giants friends texting me, could the Giants get Jalen Waddle from the Dolphins? I don't think the Dolphins are trading Jalen Waddle. They have no reason to. He's under control. He's under contract. Right. He's a young player. I don't think the Giants need to be spending that kind of capital, but just go and get, some solid, whether it's, it seems like Rashid Shaheed from the Saints is available. He might want to go to more of a contender, but just somebody who, or even if it's just signing a veteran. I know Tyler Lockett just went to the Raiders, I believe, or from the Titans to the Raiders. So not him, but someone like that that can just be a veteran, be a mentor.
A guy you can rely on to be, and just a safety blanket for Jackson Dart when when no one's winning a route, someone you can just get the ball.
Because it's hard to develop if nobody's open. Absolutely. It's not about just winning games this year. I know Brian Dable and Joe Shane are going to want to win some games this year to try to save their jobs, but I think they need a little bit more juice, and that leads them into, speaking of injuries, a game with the 49ers, who are very injured.
Very injured, have been all year.
And, that'll be, you're just at the point of the Giants this year where you want to say, it's an interesting game, but, you're just looking for flashes from Dart. That's really it, because it would take quite the win streak for them to be able to string something together, and they're going to get a desperate 49ers team because they're 5-3, but that division is packed in the NFC West.
Yeah,
and you're just coming off a loss to the Texans, so they're going to be they're going to give the Giants everything they can handle this week.
Yeah, they're going to get a Niners team that knows they need to win, and a Niners team that, when you look at your schedule, the Giants are a game that they circle and say, we got to win this game if we're going to compete the way they want to. So you're going to get a team that's coming out on fire and knows they need to win. It's going to be a very similar situation to Philadelphia last week, where it's a tough matchup, and you're kind of just hoping. If you're a Giants fan, I have to imagine you're really just hoping to see more positives out of Jackson Dart.
Yeah, and speaking of their injuries for the 49ers, it does not seem like Brock Purdy's going to play. He's still dealing with a toe injury. His injury is kind of bizarre, and also Mac Jones isn't playing that bad for the 49ers right now.
Not so much of a reason for them to rush him.
Yeah, so the Giants are at home. They're 2.5-point underdogs, so, Vegas has it as a close game right now. And I think the Giants they're going to be that team that their record might not look good, but they're going to compete.
Yeah.
It's just whether or not they can get over the hump and again, continue to see Jackson Dart develop. But we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking Bills and Patriots. Welcome back to 10 for 10. We are now talking Buffalo Bills, and what a big game it is this week for the Buffalo Bills, taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. We've seen this story many times before.
Yeah.
Let's start first with what the Bills did last week, and it was absolutely dismantle Andy Dalton and the Carolina Panthers, 40-9. And again, we were just talking about how we kind of saw it coming with the Giants. This was another one that I did feel pretty confidently in the Bills on. I didn't know it would be 40-9.
Right.
It felt like coming off the bye, big favorites on the road. It felt like this was one that they had to have, and they treated it like that. They looked very impressive.
Yeah, this is what we talked about last week when we said the Bills need to not only win this game, but look good doing it to kind of get some of that swagger back, and that's exactly what they did. Yeah, it was only a 3-0 first quarter, but once they kind of settled in and knocked the rust off from the bye, they were rocking and rolling, and I mean, they looked really good.
Even in that quarter, for some reason, like they were doing enough moving the ball. It was like they weren't taking advantage, but there was something. You could also tell that the Panthers offense wasn't going to be able to do much.
Right.
Now, the big question is the Bills defense. It has been the Bills defense. Did we learn about the Bills defense, or was Andy Dalton playing quarterback?
Right.
Or maybe both.
Yeah.
I don't know. It could be a combination of things. I think that we'll still be looking for them to have a tougher test, which they will have this week and in the weeks to come, than Andy Dalton. But you can only beat who you're playing.
Right.
And they beat him pretty good. And James Cook was unbelievable. I mean, 19 carries, 216 yards, 2 touchdowns. The Bills are another team, much like the Giants, they have more weapons than the Giants, no doubt, with Kincaid and Coleman and Shakir. But they don't have a true number one either in the passing game. But what I think people not forget, but like this is a running team. They're going to play their best when James Cook, sure, maybe doesn't run for 216 yards, but is over that 100-yard mark, and they can run the ball, and Josh Allen gets involved. He only had 3 carries, but he had 2 touchdowns.
Right, yeah. When you look at the Bills, the mind goes to, all right, they're going to throw the ball because they have the MVP at quarterback. Yeah. But their best player outside of Josh Allen is James Cook. And for this team to have success this year, they're going to need to run the football effectively and efficiently against good teams. We saw them do what they want to do against the Panthers. Now, can you do it against better defenses and kind of play complementary football and not need Josh Allen to play Superman ball, which we've seen them rely on him to do in the past?
And this, to me, should be a team that is in the wide receiver market. I think that Keon Coleman has a lot of talent, but is kind of disappointed as that like boundary receiver, the guy who's going to stretch the defense. I think that's what they need. Like they have Shakir over the middle.
Shakir's a very good slot receiver.
Great slot receiver, run after catch. They have Kincaid, who's nice over the middle. Dawson Knox is a good second tight end. Like they have enough over the middle. They need that guy who can kind of stretch the defense, which Diggs used to be to some. Diggs kind of did a little bit of everything, but that's kind of what they're missing. Whether that's Shaheed, I think he would help. Olave, I think would be great. Also on the Saints, Chris Olave, I think would be maybe the best option because, again, I think
Yeah.
Jalen Waddle's the guy that people are looking at. Jalen Waddle, I really doubt it's going to be traded, and I surely doubt
Probably
that he's
not in the
gonna be traded
division.
to the Buffalo
Yeah.
Bills. So that, I think, as we get closer to the trade deadline, really close to the trade deadline,
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be a ton of moves in the NFL. It's not like the MLB trade deadline or
Right.
even the NBA. But I think that they are a team that, we've seen them do it with Amari Cooper in the past,
Yeah.
bringing in wide receivers. I think that they need to do that.
Yeah.
On the defensive side of the ball, a tough blow for them is Ed Oliver being out indefinitely. He's on injured reserve now. That's tough because he's a huge piece in the middle of that defense, which already was struggling a little bit.
Yeah.
You play a team like the Chiefs this week, which we can kind of shift to now. Like that game is going to be big, especially if they want to work towards being the top overall seed and earning the bye.
Right.
And a torn bicep for Ed Oliver. I mean, the Chiefs, as much as they're throwing the ball over the place, they also get physical in the run game with Kareem Hunt and Pacheco. And that could be a situation where the Chiefs kind of ground and pound them a little bit.
Yeah, you're thinking going into the week, Andy Reid's going to circle that as a place where they can attack with Ed Oliver out. And, even beyond this game, it becomes a problem for a Buffalo defense that has been plagued by some injuries and has struggled at times. Somebody's going to need to step up because you're not going to be facing Andy Dalton and the Panthers, who only dropped 13 points on the Jets the week prior.
Yeah.
They're going to get really tested this week. They're going to need to find a way to slow things down. And to that point, mentioned the trade market for wide receiver. They could also be in the market for a defensive tackle if there's a veteran guy out there who's looking to get on a contender. They could be in the market to bring someone else in because this is a team that's been plagued by injuries, and the window to win championships is not that big. The Bills are in it right now. Josh Allen's playing at an MVP level. James Cook is an elite running back. You don't want to squander a potential opportunity, and especially with the Patriots getting better every week and every year. I think, this is one of the years the Bills go for it. So I think if the opportunity for wide receiver or defensive tackle is there to bring in someone, I think the Bills need to take it.
And this game's at home, which helps. It opened. The Chiefs are favorites in this game, which makes sense with the way they've been playing. Although the Chiefs are 5-3, Buffalo's 5-2, but the Chiefs have just kind of the last couple of weeks thrown into high gear. The line went from 1.5 to 2.5, so the Chiefs are favored by 2.5. Listen, I think it's going to be a game that comes down to a final possession or two. I think this is a tough matchup for the Bills, especially, like I said, without Ed Oliver. I think that the Chiefs are going to run the ball. They've run the ball much better this year. I think that's going to be tough. And the Chiefs, more and more, some years they've kind of started hot and fallen off, and now it feels like they're almost getting better as they go along.
Right.
I mean, they that huge win over the line after losing the Jaguars, huge win over the Lions. And they beat the Raiders 31-0. It could have been 70-0. They were kneeing the ball with time on the clock in the fourth quarter.
Right.
And then to beat the Commanders in a game where they didn't start out the best. They had two kind of weird turnovers in the beginning of the game, and then they still win 28-7 without Jaden Daniels.
Right.
But they strike me as a team that is going to be the Bills don't match up with them the best right now on the defensive side of the ball. I could see this being again, we're not just doing this for gambling reasons, but just to give an idea of what this game looks like. The over-under is 52.5. I think there's going to be a lot of points in this game.
Yeah.
That's the Bills are going to have to be in a shootout because I don't think that they're going to be able to stop the Chiefs consistently.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs' offense has looked really good, right? They had, like you mentioned, those two weird turnovers early in the Commanders game. Those don't happen. This is a team that's probably pushing 30 points for the fifth week in a row. They scored 28. This is a Chiefs team that has gone over 20 points or more every game this season. They're going to score. Josh Allen and James Cook, they're going to need to find a way to move the ball down the field, and they're going to have to put up some points. And going back to the run game, it becomes even more important this week. They got to be able to control the clock a little bit and do their best to keep the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands because the defense is beat up and Mahomes is looking just about as good as he's ever looked. And the Chiefs are going to put up points.
And I'm going to advance this. We're going to stay on the Bills a little bit, but I'll just advance to the Patriots because usually each week we do. Well, we'll get to the Patriots in a second.
Yeah.
But they're kind of they're going to be tied to each other all year.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to be tied to each other all season long. And, the Patriots 6-2 now after, they dismantled the Browns.
Yeah.
A Browns team, Myles Garrett had 5 sacks,
It was a franchise record, yeah.
and they gave up 31 points.
Yeah.
So that's not a great sign for the Cleveland Browns. But Patriots 6-2 with that win over the Bills. Bills 5-2. Those are why, not only for the number 1 seed, but for the division,
right,
games like this one become very important when you have the Patriots who have won 5 in a row.
Yeah, the Patriots don't look like they're slowing down. We talked about it last week. You need to see them do what they did against Tennessee to teams like Cleveland. They did exactly that. Now the competition will get a little tougher. The Falcons are an up and down team with an offense that can score some points. So this is a good test for the Patriots this week. But on both sides, you're now in a race for this division. Every game heightens, right? We're into November now. I know it's October when we're recording this. It's going to be October when this releases. Sunday is November. These games just mean a little bit more when you're in a divisional race, and the Patriots need to take care of business on Sunday against Falcons.
And I was about to say that we can just talk about the Falcons game because it's a good sign with the Patriots that for the last 2 weeks, I'm like, we don't even really need to talk about their last game. But we'll give them their due because they deserve it. They dismantled the Browns. It was close, 9-7 at half, and then they put up 21 points in the third quarter. They don't allow a point in the third quarter. Drake May is really good, unfortunately, for people who don't like the Patriots, which I'm not saying I'm one of them. But 18 of 24, 282 yards, 3 touchdowns, did have the interception. He's taken that next step. And again, we talked about this last week. The Browns are not good, but their defense is very good, and he made them look not so good.
Yeah. It was a game that's what you want to see from teams when they're playing bad teams that have good defenses, right? It may be a grind early, but as long as you're not turning the ball over, you're not putting yourself in a position to lose, eventually you're going to find a way to break through. And that's exactly what the Patriots did, and they looked good doing it in the second half. And Drake May, we said it last week, we'll probably be saying it the rest of the year. He looks like everything the Patriots wanted him to look like in year 2.
And then quickly, we'll talk about the Falcons game. This is an interesting one. It's a 5.5-point spread. The Patriots are favored. They're at home. The Falcons coming off a shocking loss to the Dolphins, where the Dolphins just destroyed them.
Yeah.
Again, just a little inside baseball. I was at a baptism, didn't watch the Dolphins game. First Dolphins game I didn't watch all year, and I was fine with it. I'm like, I don't have to watch the Dolphins. They're going to lose anyway. That's what they've been doing. And they decided to show up for the first time all year, except for the Jets game, which doesn't really count for much. I was like, all right, sick guys. Thanks for actually winning while I'm not here.
Yeah.
Suffice to say, I think that whether Michael Penix plays, although I don't think he's very good, but whether he plays, I think is a big part because Kirk Cousins is 100 years old.
Really not good.
Their offense was horrible with him.
Yeah.
So
Drake London, whether he's in or out, that's a big deal too.
I could see it being a little closer than maybe the Patriots would like it to be, but I would be pretty surprised if the Patriots don't win this game.
Yeah, I think the Patriots are a better team than the Falcons. I think the Falcons have some offensive weapons that could take over a game. Bijan Robinson is obviously one of the best running backs in the league. If Drake London plays, he can make a big impact. But I think overall, Patriots are a much better team. And if they show up the way they did and the way they have the last couple of weeks, they shouldn't really have a problem with the Falcons.
We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're talking NBA. All right, welcome back. We are on to the NBA. We will begin with the New York Knicks. Started off great.
Yep.
They beat the Cavs opening night. They beat the Celtics night 2. They go on the road. Not so great. They lose 115-107 on Sunday to the Heat. They lose 121-111 to the Bucks on Tuesday night. And again, we said this last week. It is tough this early in an NBA season to do a huge deep dive into every single game and whatever. What I will say is this big picture, there are moments where this offense under Mike Brown, which is much more focused on ball movement than it was with Tom Thibodeau, there are moments where it looks great, and then there are moments where it looks horrible. Mm-hmm. And early in the game, in the second quarter particularly with the Knicks against the Bucks, looked great.
Right.
Second half, disgusting. 20 points in each quarter in the third and fourth. They had a big lead going into the half. I think a 10-point lead they had a 12-point lead going into the half, and they lose by 10. So that shows you how they did in the second half.
Yeah.
And I'll just say there are games where you look at Karl Anthony Towns and you're like, I know there are going to be games this year where I'm like, man, he is so good.
Right.
When the Knicks traded for Karl Anthony Towns, I was kind of on the fence. I don't love his defense. I don't think that he is a winning player on that end. And I was like, how is he going to fit in the... But he has moments like in the playoffs where he takes over and you're like, this guy is one of the best offensive players in basketball. Yeah. And then he has maddening games like this one. And I was pulling my hair out. I mean, he had 8 points, 2 for 12 shooting, looked just completely lost.
Yeah.
And it's a new offense. He is going to have to figure it out because I think, if anything, the ball movement and the spacing should help him because he's a big man who can shoot.
Right.
He can do a little bit of everything. They need him to show up. I'm not saying he's got to score 30 a night, but you can't have nights. And again, in the NBA, you're going to have off nights, but
right.
He was bad. And it doesn't help when OG Anunoby shoots 3 of 11, 1 of 6 from 3 either. But Karl Anthony Towns had me pulling my hair out.
Yeah, I think, once again, don't want to overreact. We're 4 games into the year, but like we said with opening night last week, where it's everything you wanted to see, this game was kind of everything you're concerned with about the Knicks, especially on the offensive end. The ball movement should create some open looks, but you got to hit your shots. And when you got OG Anunoby going 3 for 11, Karl Anthony Towns going 2 for 12, you're not going to, it's not going to lead to a lot of success. Jalen Brunson had a good night. He shot 14 for 25. We used 1 for 5 from beyond the arc, which, it just, you're going to get your looks in a ball movement offense, but you got to knock them down.
That's the other thing is they shot 43s. They're shooting way more threes this year.
Yeah.
They don't make a ton of them right now.
Right.
I think that the OG will shoot better. I think Karl Anthony Towns, Jalen Brunson will shoot better. But they might need to add some shooters to this offense if this is how they want to play.
Yeah.
I don't know if those guys, like Mikal Bridges is a good shooter. I don't know if he's just like a knockdown 3-point shooter. He was 3 of 7, so no problem there. But so it's going to be interesting to see how that looks. The problem with Karl Anthony Towns is that Jalen Brunson is scoring when he's in the game. And they're purposefully, which I like, Karl Anthony Towns comes out before Brunson. So then when Brunson comes out, they can put out Towns and he could be the primary scorer while Brunson's on the bench. But if Karl Anthony Towns plays like that, they had nowhere to go.
Right.
I don't know if they need to add some bench pieces. Obviously, Mitchell Robinson's not playing. He doesn't help much offensively. But when they're going with that bench unit of Ariel Hukporti and Jordan Clarkson, you have Josh Hart who can't shoot, and Tyler Kolek who is, I like but is not, going to light the world on fire offensively. Where do you go if Karl Anthony Towns isn't scoring? And that proved to be a problem.
Yeah, I think you see it throughout the league, right? When you're relying on a center to score, sometimes it just doesn't work. It's just not working out. Especially big guys tend to sometimes have a little bit cooler nights from deep at times than some of the other guys in the league. But I think if you're going to rely on a guy like Karl Anthony Towns, who can be up and down, who can have really great nights and then nights like he did against the Bucks, you have to have a plan B for that unit, and right now they just don't.
Tonight, for Friday night, they play the Bulls, Kevin Huerter and the Bulls, in the NBA Cup. The group stage began.
Here we go.
I'm not going to go on the NBA Cup rant because I don't get the NBA Cup. I just don't understand. It's like, let's get excited about the NBA Cup. I'm not going to get excited about the NBA Cup. Nobody cares about the NBA Cup. I'm not going to put up a banner for the NBA Cup. Nobody cares. No one cares. Celtics, we're moving on.
That's the NBA
No one
Cup
cares about the NBA
today.
Cup. No one. We're going to pretend like we're going to care. Sure, they make more money. They make enough money. It makes them excited during the regular season. Great. I don't know why we have to incentivize our players even further to actually play games in the middle of the season when they make as much money as they do and they play basketball. But I'm not going to get going about the NBA Cup.
No, you clearly have not gotten
going with the NBA. I'm not going to get going about the NBA Cup.
Not at all.
Now, I could sit here and say that the NBA Cup is a joke. I could say that. I could say that nobody cares about it. We're putting up banners for something nobody cares about. And does anybody remember who won the NBA Cup last year? Remember the Lakers raised a banner for the NBA Cup? I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that the NBA Cup is a joke. Anyway, the Celtics. They begin the NBA Cup against the Sixers.
Yeah.
It's such a joke. Anyway, the Celtics were kind of the opposite of the Knicks, where they start 0-3. They lose to the Sixers. They lose to the Knicks. They lose to the Pistons. They blow out the Pelicans, and then a huge win over the Cavs, 125-105. Cavs were a little beat up, but the Celtics, you could see Jaylen Brown becoming more of the focal point and getting more comfortable in that role, other guys knocking down shots, and you can kind of see the vision of what we originally talked about as far as this team is still going to be a top 4 or 5 team in the East with Jaylen Brown at the centerpiece.
Yeah, I think last week, we were talking about this team has the potential to be that team. They just got to find their roles and kind of settle into life without Jason Tatum for the time being. It seems like the last couple of games they have done that. And against the Cavs, Jaylen Brown, 30 points, just what you need. You got two other guys with double-doubles. You got Hauser off the bench with 21 points. Simons with 14. You're starting to see these guys who in the past, with Jason Tatum and a bit more of a well-known roster, guys we weren't seeing make an impact. Now they're stepping into these roles, and this is exactly what the Celtics needed to see from them early in the year. And listen, there are going to be games like we saw in those first 3 where there are going to be struggles. You're without your best player. It is what it is. But if you can find enough games like this where you're getting contributions across the board, this is still going to be a team who can fight for a home court advantage in the playoffs and can still potentially make some noise in May.
Yeah, and I think, now they're still saying that maybe Jason Tatum can play later in the year. Again, that's going to be something that hangs over this team kind of all season, but they're going to kind of have to figure it out. Again, it's really early, but I think now there are just some of those other pieces, like you could see kind of Missoula figuring out. I think it's going to be an all-season thing, and that they're kind of tinkering with lineups and what works, what doesn't work, certain opponents. But I think that it looked. I'm still thinking about the NBA Cup. Do you know who won the NBA Cup last year?
I forget.
Yeah, of course you forget. Of course you. Why would you remember? The Milwaukee Bucks won the NBA Cup. They beat the Thunder, who then won the NBA
the one
Finals.
that counts, the one that people care about.
Do you think that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is at home?
Darn.
I really wish I had that NBA Cup. And again, $500,000. I feel nice. It feels good for the guy in the end of the bench who wins $500,000. I just don't know.
Giannis is not
worried about 500.
Right? Yeah.
But
Shai
why am I
not,
worrying about that? They're worrying about that. I mean, they're well compensated for playing basketball, and we love them for it. We're here. We're gonna watch. We're excited.
Absolutely.
I just can't with the NBA Cup. And again, I like watching basketball, so it's not like I'm like going to turn it off. It's just like the regular season games were fine.
Yeah.
And then you end up playing, certain teams. The Knicks ended up having to play a tougher schedule last year because they went farther in the NBA Cup.
Right.
I just don't understand the NBA Cup. All right, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're talking Union RPI hockey. All right, welcome back to 10 for 10. We are going to talk more about the NBA Cup. I'm just kidding. We're not going to do that. Union RPI, Capital Skates weekend, starting league play, ECAC play. It's one of the great weekends of the year, especially it's a rivalry that is, one of the best that college sports really has to offer, not just the Capital Region. We've got Union 4-0-1 out to a great start to the season, in the mix to get ranked nationally. And then you have RPI under a new head coach. They got 19 new players. They're 0-6. And I know that you look at 0-6 and you're like, oh, they've played 4 of those games have been top 20 teams in the country with 19 new players and a new head coach. And in the last game against Minnesota State University, they kind of, it was a 2-1 game. They played with them. So it's not like they just were getting blown out in all of those games. So I think you're going to see them take some steps throughout the week, the year. And this weekend could be an interesting spot to do it because Union's playing really well, but it's a rivalry, and what you never know is going to happen.
Yeah, it's a rivalry, so you can kind of throw a lot out the window. It is interesting with 19 new players and a new head coach. Like, this is the introduction for a lot of these guys. I think for the RPI players, for the handful of them that do return, it's a bigger weekend for them. Like, they got swept Capital Skates last year. Then they lost the Mayor's Cup. is one that they're going to desperately want. It's a great way for Coach Eric Lang to get introduced to the ECAC because this is going to be about as good of an environment this weekend for these two games as you're going to see throughout the season in the ECAC. And to your point with their schedule, they tested themselves, and now we're going to see if that can result in something.
Yeah, and I talked to both teams this week. I started at Union, where from their point of view, if you look at it from last year, they won the Capital Skates. So you win the Capital Skates only if you sweep the weekend. So you got to win both games. If you split, no one. They won the Capital Skates last year for the first time since 2017. That was a big moment for them, a big step forward for the program. They also won the Mayor's Cup. So they won all 3 games last year against RPI. They've won 5 of the last 6. So from their perspective, they were just, the players were more so like, hey, we know how great it feels and we just want to beat RPI.
Yeah.
Head coach Josh Hauge was more so just, hey, we're focusing on, what we've seen on tape. They don't know a lot about this team, so they haven't played them before. So they're going based off video. So that's kind of the Union perspective. And then we go to RPI. I talked to Brad McNeil, who is one of the few returners left.
Right.
And he said that the returners have spoken to the team and let them know how much this rivalry means, how big of a chip they have on their shoulder, how motivated they are to put a better foot forward against their rival.
Yeah.
And then I talked to Eric Lang. He told me that on Monday, the players said that they wanted to hang something in the locker room that would motivate them or basically, again, show how much it would mean to beat Union. He wouldn't tell me what it was.
Okay.
So I guess I don't know what it was, but seems like there was a lot of motivation on Monday to just start the week to show the younger guys this means a lot and to show him that it means a lot. He knows about the rivalry. He's a hockey guy. He knows about it, but this is his first time in it. And I thought he said something interesting. And he was like, before you can be one of the better teams in the country, you have to be the best team in town. So that's
interesting.
What they're kind of aiming for. And it's going to be,
these will be 2 close games, right? You could kind of throw everything out. Like last year, like you just look back to last year's Mayor's Cup, right? Union finished 4th in the conference. They were significantly above RPI, who had to go on the road in the opening round and got bounced in the first round of the ECAC playoffs. Game went to overtime, right? This is a rivalry game. These are going to be 2 games that are hard fought. They're going to be close. It's going to be good hockey. It's just a matter of who can find that play late.
Yeah, it's going to be those games are always fun. And on Friday night, they're going to be playing tonight. They're going to be playing in the M&T Bank Center for the first time. That building, I was there for the first time this week. I hadn't been in it yet. It is beautiful.
Oh, yeah, it's fantastic.
And then you get the Houston Fieldhouse on Saturday. I mean, both of those places are going to be absolutely rocking.
Yeah.
So we look forward to that one. And now we move on to college football quickly. UAlbany, another loss. They've lost 7. They're 1-7. They lose to Villanova, who's ranked 29-16. They hang in the game. They're playing William and Mary this week on the road. Maybe a chance for them to get their first conference win. And then you have Union with a huge win over Ithaca. The unbeaten league play. They now play Hilbert, who RPI just beat up on, and RPI also still unbeaten in league play. And they are going to play St. Lawrence before they play Ithaca. It looks like we're on a collision course to the Dutchman shoes to be for a berth into the NCAA playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, Union put themselves in the driver's seat, right? They took care of business against Ithaca. If they can beat the teams they're supposed to, they will be in a win and in situation when they play RPI in a couple of weeks. RPI, on the other hand, they still got to take care of business against Ithaca. They'll have them at home, which is a big deal. It certainly seems like one way or another, that Dutchman Shoes game is going to be, there's going to be a lot on the line, a lot more than just that one trophy.
We're going to be covering it all this weekend. We will preview 1st and 10 next year on 10 for 10. All right, as we do here on 10 for 10, we're wrapping it up with a look at 1st and 10, which again is airing on Friday. So tonight, and we've got playoffs. We got playoff football. Class A, Class C, both getting it started. We'll have more playoffs starting next week. But we have a big one, Troy, hosting the playoff game for the first time in some time in our game of the week.
Yeah, this should be a good one. They got Burnt Hills. Big night for Troy. first home playoff game in quite a while, so that's going to be a fun atmosphere. Burnt Hills, on the other hand, that's a team that's been on the road a lot. They've dealt with a lot of adversity this year. Two teams who are excited to be there. It's going to be a good game.
And that will do it for us on this episode of 10 for 10. Thank you for watching. Come on back next week to the WTEN Plus app. Have a great week.